Hello and welcome. Standupworld episode 4. The ball rolls downhill. It continues. I hope you're having a good week. I'm having a good week. I'm on my way to Omaha to the Funny Bone up there, playing the comedy clubs again, working with Pauly Shore, who I used to babysit for, and now I'm his featured act. Boy, talk about a success story. Got a lot to talk about today, though. We have a public service announcement I've put together for parents of grown children who refuse to leave the house. I want to talk about Dane Cook's fantastic new special that drops today on The Moment. Talk a little bit about the story behind it, about my buddy Marty Callner, who directed it, and about, I think, a whole new style for Dane that's emerging. And I just love this special. So I love the work he did. I also want to remind you of a crazy talented dude, Tyler Fischer, who's making his own way in the world, just chopping through the woods, portaging, making his own shows, his own bits and pieces and sketches and podcasts, and putting his own special up on YouTube. He's really everything that I love about the new world of comedy, which I'm really into documenting and talking about and learning from, to be honest. But first, here's a word from our sponsor, the fantastic Foundation Cigars. Hey, I want to take a minute and talk about Foundation Cigars, which is a company owned by a good buddy of mine, Nick Melillo. They are fantastic cigars, just top of the line Nicaraguan high-end cigars that I just love. And if you see Joe Rogan smoking the Joe Rogan cigar and talking about it, that's a Nick. That's a Foundation cigar. Nick is a craftsman. He loves what he's doing. He's from Connecticut. He uses Connecticut leaf with great Nicaraguan tobacco. And he's got a new line out, the Olmec. The Olmec. I love this. This cigar here, look at that baby. This is one of the best cigars. If you like Cohiba or Padron, this is my new go-to. I love it so much. Foundation Cigars. Tell your cigar story. You better start stocking it. Hi, Mike Binder here. Part of the journey of life that we never get help with is when we've raised our kids, sent them off to college, and then later they hit a rough patch and move back into the house and never leave. Not to worry. I've come up with 5 great methods to get your adult kids to move out of your house and to stay out. 1. Set up a realistic version of a murder and a torture chamber in the basement. Put it right behind the furnace with a hidden door. Then ask one of them to run down and grab you a tool, right where you know they'll find the hidden entrance. Oh, that's just an exercise room I built for some of the school kids I meet every now and then to come over and work out in. They'll move out so fast it'll feel like a magic trick. 2. Start cooking fish. Cook fish in the morning, cook fish in the afternoon, cook fish in the early evening. Don't eat it, just cook fish. Leave it laying around the kitchen. Cook fish until the place stinks like a morgue for house cats. Watch how fast they find friends to shack up with. 3. Rent out a spare room to a sumo wrestler. Encourage the new tenant to work out in the living room. Buck naked. Once the kids get their first shot of a deep morning stretch, boom, they'll be gone as if they were shot out of a bazooka. By the way, pro tip, once the kids are gone, repeat steps 1 and 2 to get rid of the sumo wrestler. 4, fuck your wife on the kitchen floor, constantly. Once they come home and see you fucking their old mom on the kitchen floor, they'll be out of the house so fast, learning different trades and skills enough to feed a family of 10. You'll see a burst of productivity you never even dreamed possible. Pro tip, if you're not still married to their mom, fuck someone else on the kitchen floor. The older and nastier looking, the better. 5, this is the easiest one. Start shitting your pants all the time. Just shit your pants all the time. Then let them know you need cleanup services. Those kids will start finding out-of-state jobs so fast your head will spin, guaranteed. You do these 5 things, the house is yours again. It may stink to high heaven. You might have a sumo wrestler you can't get rid of, and the police may be asking about the murder room. And the truth is, once you start shitting your pants, you might not be able to stop. It is kind of addictive. But the house is yours again, so you owe me. You're welcome. I want to talk about Dane Cook's new special, Above It All, that he filmed at his house. It was directed by my good friend Marty Kullner, who is the master, without a doubt. He's directed some of the best comedy specials of all times. Robin Williams' best, Richard Pryor's best, Chris Rock's best. He directed the first special I ever did, I was ever part of. He's just an amazing guy. He created the HBO comedy special. He's not only that, he's done 20 or 30 of the biggest music specials of all time. But in stand-up comedy, he's truly made his mark. And now he's back working with Dane, who, I love what Dane's done. I love that, you know, he's rebuilt his career and he's turned into just a fantastic storyteller. This special is so brave. I mean, first of all, he filmed it at his house on his front porch, which I think was so sentimental and sweet, the way he set it up. Because he lives in this like crazy Hollywood mansion. But at its heart, it's just a guy standing on his front porch telling stories about his life. And they're wonderful stories. He opens, you have to see this special. You got to go to the moment and buy this special. He's delivering it in a brand new way. Andrew Schultz did it just a few months back and really, you know, cut the ribbon for a new voyager, a new voyage to be taken for comedians that I think is going to change everything. But Dane is like the first icon to do it. And he's done it in such a big yet small and intimate way. I was so taken by this special. I went last night and saw it at the Man's Chinese Theater. I'm sorry, I was gonna say the Hollywood Bowl, but it was the Man's Chinese Theater. And I was in the audience just laughing my ass off, which I love to do. I think laughter's so healthy and it's such a gift that a comedian gives an audience. But not only was the audience on the special laughing, but the audience at the Man's Chinese Theater was going crazy. And he did it in a very brave way, you know. I ran into Bert Kreischer on the way out, and Bert and I were both saying that he opened with this long story. And it was such a brave way to open the show. It was so confident. The story must have been 20 minutes long, 15 minutes at the least. But it's so real and painful and interesting. And it's just great storytelling, great comic storytelling. And then he just follows it up with stories about his girlfriend, about early days of his career. I mean, he's a very honest guy, you know, and he is who he is. And he's a well-written character, you know. I really strongly suggest you get this special. I really think that Dane has made his mark. Between him and working with someone great like Marty Kullner, who he obviously trusts so much. This is the start of a whole new chapter in Dane's life. But it's also, you know, this is the guy that changed comedy once before by making it huge just off MySpace. No one had ever done what Dane did before. No one had ever just catapulted into American consciousness from nowhere, just on a social media platform, just talking to his fans and building a fan base and answering them back and talking to him, and he did it. And I remember there was this great Rolling Stone piece on him. And I was like, who is this guy? You know, and I just, listen, I like him because he's an open wound, you know? You can feel his pain a lot. You can feel his hurt a lot, but you can also feel his love for his art, his love for his woman. You feel what he's feeling. There's no bullshit about the guy, you know? And I love that. You know, he reminds me of the greats. He has that thing that Pryor had, that he was just an open sore, you know? But he changed comedy with his MySpace debut. And now I think he's kicking down a door. And granted, I do think Andrew Schultz needs a big round of applause for really, you know, sticking a small wire through the soil on Moment with his first one. But Dane really drilled the pipeline open here. You know, there's a pipeline now. And you don't need Netflix, you don't need HBO, and you don't need to give it away for free on YouTube. You can really craft something great, and you can give it to your fans, and you can let them support you direct to consumer. And it's here. It's a day that I've been dreaming that would happen for years, and it's here. And Dane is a guy that's really kicking the door open. So I think he deserves a lot of applause for it. And I'm really hoping that people go out there and support him. Another guy that I really appreciate in this mode is a new guy, a guy named Tyler Fischer. I did a piece on him a while back on Standupworld in the Pearls from the Bottom of the YouTube Ocean section that I like to do about guys that put up their own YouTube specials. But I've since gotten to know even more about Tyler, and really, I'm really impressed with him. You know, he's a free thinker. I have to say, you can see that he's very conservative. He's not afraid to be conservative in a time and in a town, in an industry that wants to just club you over the head if you don't think the same way they do. And Tyler just doesn't seem to care. His comedy is very subversive, very anti the woke narrative, anti the vaccine narrative, anti the globalist narrative. His sketches are priceless. They really are. He doesn't have a sketch show the way Shane Gillis does. But he puts on some really great little pieces. And he's putting them up on social media. He's putting them up on YouTube.
Before I was president, black people probably couldn't even walk. Do you remember that? They couldn't walk. They couldn't speak English, and now they're doing such great things. They're doing great things. They're frankly doing so good under my... And they weren't doing so good before. You know, she knows what I'm talking. She knows.
He's all over the place on his YouTube channel. You know, like I say, his special's up there now, and it's doing fantastic. So I think you should watch that. And it's free. Save your money and buy Dane's special right now. You'll have to buy Tyler's in a little bit. But he is everything that I love about what's going on. There's another guy named Ryan Long that I really love. And there's so many of them. We're seeing, this is a watershed moment here. This is a new world of comedy. Again, I'm plugging the documentary series I'm working on. But these people, these comics, Rachel Feinstein, I mean, there's so many of them, and they're just, even my friend Felicia Michaels, who doesn't get the credit she deserves. They're just doing their own thing, building their craft, putting it up on Twitter, putting it on Instagram, putting it on YouTube, and their fans are finding them and following them and supporting them, and it's really a beautiful thing. It's just like what's happened with music, with Spotify, and what happened on MySpace with music. And comedians are now really building a bond with their fans. You've seen what Bert Kreischer has done beautifully, and Tom Segura, and of course, Maron and Rogan. But this is really a fantastic time, and Tyler Fischer is a perfect example of everything that I love. And finally, we had our Detroit Comedy Jam in LA, which was for the Midnight Mission. Wasn't, to be honest, the huge success I wanted it to be. It's hard to sell tickets for the homeless people in LA right now. I feel that there's some kind of low-level anger towards homeless people that there wasn't years ago when I was doing these benefits. It was always so easy to get people to donate to the Midnight Mission. And now, since COVID and maybe a little before, their donations have just plummeted. And you have to know the Midnight Mission, it isn't just about homeless people. You know, this is about people. First of all, they feed 3 meals a day, 365 days a year. They feed hundreds of people, not just Thanksgiving, not just Christmas. Every day, 3 meals a day out of that kitchen. The people on the streets of LA get a square meal if they want it. But more, the mission has a program, and the mission brings people in and lets them live in the dorms, and then you can move from the dorms into smaller rooms, and ultimately they have a whole suite of apartments that young mothers can live in, and young men that have just are really ready to go back into life and back in off the streets into life. In the Midnight Mission, it's a healing factory. And like I say, it was hard to sell tickets, but it was a great night. It was a great night. It was Sandy Danto, a young comedian from Detroit, was fantastic. My buddy Fraser Smith showed up for me. Paul Rodriguez, who's one of my oldest friends, was just wonderful. And of course, my buddy Howie Mandel was great. Tim Allen was supposed to be on the show, but he had a medical thing that came up. He's doing great now. He wasn't feeling good. He couldn't make the show. And at the last minute, I called Neal Brennan, who's, in my mind, a genius. I always say he's the closest mind to what David Letterman was back when Letterman was doing stand-up. And Neal came on, and he was just fantastic. And boy, was I good. I was so good. No, I'm kidding. But I did stand-up for the first time on that main room stage in almost 30 years. And that was really fun for me. I'm so loving it. But it was a good night. It was a good night and a good time. And that's it. Go get some Foundation cigars, and more important, go get Dane's special, On the Moment. It comes out today. Above It All, Dane Cook. Just a really, really important moment in stand-up comedy. Good job, Dane. Thanks, folks. That's episode 4. I like to keep them short and sweet. God bless you.